Do you want the Eagles to build a dome with their new stadium? Now, 68.3% say no. As you posted yesterday, the Eagles sent out a note to their fans yesterday talking about the potential for either upgrades to Lincoln Financial Field or potentially a new stadium. And one of the questions was, would they prefer an open-air stadium, a canopy, which is like what the Rams have, or a dome? Like you've talked about this for a while. I remember you asking Jeffrey Lurie about it at the Super Bowl, the potential for a dome. Could you explain to everybody why the Eagles would prefer a dome aside from the football aspect of it?
Yeah, so removing whether fans want a dome, don't want a dome, the reason they would build a dome is so that they can have events when the weather is not great. And most importantly, probably, the Super Bowl. They're not going to get the Super Bowl in Philadelphia unless they have a dome. So there's the Super Bowl, there is, World Cup games. I know they have them now next year, but there's already talks of potentially only playing those games in stadiums with domes because of how hot it is in the summer. So when you have a dome on your stadium, you can do more things, you have more events, and you make more money. So if they're going to spend however much this dome will cost, which I'm sure is multiple billions, they're not going to do it and then only have things in it 4 or 5 months out of the year. So the incentive for the dome financially is to host big events.
What I wonder about, truly, is why not just build a retractable dome? I think, Eliot, but and we'll debate whether football is better in a dome or not in a dome. Regardless, it does.
There's no debate today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously better without a dome. Yeah, stop. We'll get there. We'll get there. Regardless of what you think of that, it does seem like generally in this area, people prefer not a dome. I just don't know what the negative is to building a retractable dome so you can have those events and still have outdoor football.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something they could potentially do. On the survey that they sent out to fans, I think there was 5 different options. The canopy, you said it's where the Rams thing is, and I do believe that's correct, but there's also 2 different types now of domes that allow cold air in and, like sun. So it's not a true dome like we think of. I do think in a certain way, dome, the term is a little outdated because now these stadiums are so high tech that, you can let weather in. But regardless.
That's also Los Angeles, too. What type of bad weather are they going to get?
Right, that's a good point as well.
Yeah, I thought the Bears were building some version of a stadium like that where it's not a completely shut dome. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I mean the benefit. Yeah, they could absolutely build a dome that has a roof so that people can feel cold during a game like they really want to.
Well, I think the other thing for me is this is. The reason I want outdoor football instead of a dome is I've watched football in a dome, and by the way, all of my college home games that I watched were in a dome.
You all big Syracuse guy. How many games you go to?
Well, I went to every.
McNabb was thriving.
Yeah, it was the McNabb era. It was a good era of football. But I did also my freshman year. I went to USC, so I watched the Coliseum as well.
No, it's
but I saw both. But even the Super Bowl being in the dome, like watching football in a dome is like watching sports in a mall. It's just like not having the weather. I think for every sport, it sterilizes the game in a way. I'm going to forget about the snow and forget about the rain. I like being outside. Like I like the experience of being outside during the game, and I think it makes it feel more like sports. And I think when you're inside a dome, it feels like you're in a mall.
Yeah, so that's obviously a preference thing. Like, I don't think that, I've been to all the domes in the NFL, and I don't think it feels like you're playing in a mall. I would agree that there is an element in the new domes where they're so new. It does feel like fancy, I guess, but I just think football is better inside. Like, the snow game in the playoffs was obviously awesome, and I agree. When those rare events happen, they are really cool. But I would just point to last year's Eagles team. When they played the Rams in a dome, they smoked them. When they played them in the snow, they almost lost and won the Super Bowl. The football is better when the players can be at their best. And so I will take a dome where the weather's not a factor, the players can be at their best. And by the way,
the football is better when you have a good football team. What the hell is a dome doing for the Falcons or the Cardinals or some of these other teams?
The Saints.
The Saints. Like, what is the dome doing for those teams?
Is it easier to play football when you're not playing it in the snow or when you are playing it in the snow?
That's an obvious answer. But my point.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
I understand your point of what you're saying. I get that. But you're also looking at it because you're looking at it from the view of always being indoors. You're a writer. You're in the press box. So you don't necessarily have the same joy and experience of what it's like to sit out in the stands during those games, watching the game. I mean, that's a reason why the fans who actually go to the games and sit out there in the stands vote mostly for not having a dome.
Right.
Because that's an experience they can appreciate. It's hard to appreciate that when you're sitting in the cozy confines of the press box all the time, nice and warm.
Yeah, so obviously my experience on game day is different, right? And again, it's a preference thing, right? It is. But I also say, in terms of my experience, I've been to these domes that are there, and I would guess, a lot of the majority of fans have not been to all of them, right? And so what I would say is, yes, if you prefer football outside, there's nothing that's going to change your opinion about that. It is what it is. But if you put a dome on the link or whatever the new stadium is, it instantly becomes the hardest place to play in the NFL because of how loud it will be.
I don't think so.
It's true. The domes are so much louder than the outdoor stadiums. They're like 10 times as loud. And
Elliot, I'm going to say it again. Having a good football team brings that energy. So as it pertains to the Eagles, that's fine because we just assume they're going to – well, it does because bad teams that play in the dome, their home field doesn't mean anything because it's half field. So you need to have a good football team to put a full team – to put full fans in there to sell the stadium out.
The quality of the team, I think, is irrelevant in this conversation because we're talking about the quality of the game, right? Which if obviously
it's relevant when you're talking about the impact of the energy of the crowd. How are you going to tell me the quality of the team is irrelevant? If you don't have a good team out there, what type of energy do you think the fans are going to bring?
Whatever level of energy would be in that stadium, it is a higher level of energy, and it is louder when there is a roof on it. That's what I'm saying.
That's not the point I'm making. I even understand the business angle of it. I understand why I understand why Jeffrey Lurie would want it.
Yeah, we all get it.
Yeah, we get that. Get that. But to me, the compromise, because this region, and to me, this fan base, and maybe I'll be proven to be wrong, but I feel initially we don't want a dome on the stadium. But to compromise, I'm okay with a retractable roof if there is the idea that for every Eagles home game, the roof will be open.
By the way, the other thing I want to say, we keep talking about snow. I remember 2 games in the snow in the last 15 years. But what I also remember is a lot of October and November games when it's 50 degrees or 42 degrees, and it's fun to be out there. Like it's not the weather is not a factor for all these things. And I really do think a lot of people, the stories they tell about being at the snow game is a lot different than the story they tell not being at a snow game. You know, I just think you lose a lot.
So, look, they're 2 different experiences, right? So I agree. The experience you're going to get in a dome when the roof is closed is not going to be the same you're going to get outside. But I don't think that means all of a sudden Eagles football is not going to be enjoyable for people, that the experience at the stadium is going to,
well, they'll be fine. They'll be fine whatever it is.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the reality is they're going to put some type of roof on this thing. Now, in terms of an open roof,
we just don't want a full dome. Understand that.
Sure. If you guys
that's
want
the point. I don't want a full dome.
Yeah.
So when you give me the option of retractable roof, that's what I'm gonna select. Because I know I know why they want to put the dome on, but understand why fans don't want it on and make it a retractable roof and leave the home games open. Don't tell me but. That way everybody gets what they want. Eagles fans at home games get to have an open stadium, and then you can close the damn roof the rest of the year when you want to have other events there. What do you mean but? What but do you have?
I just think there's part of this that people are afraid of change. Like, it's going to change.
Yes, because we don't want a dome.
Yeah. Because people don't know how awesome the dome is.
They're not awesome. Shut up.
Dude, this fan base, hold on. This fan base goes all around the country to watch the Eagles. So
shout out fans of Philly.
Whenever they play in a dome, they know what it's like to be in a dome as a fan, Elliot.
And it's awesome. I would love to hear from fans that have been to domes.
Check this out.
I would love to hear from them.
Let me tell you, I played in Atlanta in a dome for 2 years. I'd rather be in the link.
There it is.
Yeah, but the Atlanta Dome, first of all, how many years ago was that Atlanta Dome? The domes are way nicer now than they were back then.
It's a dome. Oh, now we're going to talk about it. Of course it'll be nicer. It's more modern. We're just talking about the dome.
Right, but I'm saying
we're talking. No, see, you're trying to make it about you're making it about things that the fans don't really care about as much.
I don't think they would care about it until they experienced it, is my point. Like, the Link is not a great stadium. Let's be honest. It's a fine stadium. It gets the job done. There's no awesome quality about the Link.
What would make it? Well, give me a great stadium then, and why it's great.
I mean, people aren't going to want to hear this, but the Cowboys Stadium is unbelievable.
Oh, man, what have they done down there? Why is it so great? Because they got a Jumbotron in the middle of the field? Why? Why is it so great?
That's exactly why.
What advantage does it give the Cowboys, though? What advantage does it give the Cowboys?
Well, the Eagles get smoked basically every time they go down there, and part of the reason
sounds
is
like you love the Cowboys.
No, I'm just – but to the point we were discussing, you're right.
Has anybody said to you in your travels the toughest place to go play is in Dallas?
Yes.
Oh, hell no. You ain't never heard that.
Oh, actually, one of them works at the station, and I know he's not Mr. Popular with you guys right now, but James Seltzer went to the Dallas game, I think it was 2 years ago.
I mean as a player.
Oh, well, the players definitely prefer domes, if I had to guess. No player wants to play in weather.
Except you're listening to a player. And I guarantee you, Richie, hold on. I guarantee you there's two other players that played that would tell you they would rather not play in the dome. So you got to look around for players to find that.
Talking about players on the Eagles, Devontae Smith doesn't like playing in weather.
Okay, we understand that wide receivers don't like playing outside in the cold. We get all of that. Here's what I asked you, Eliot. What players are out there is talking about the Cowboys' home field is somewhere that's terrifying to go play? It isn't intimidating. There's nothing about being in that dome intimidating. Nothing.
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, it might be too distracting. And maybe that's why their home fans can't be intimidating, because they got Wi-Fi, they got Jumbotrons, you got waiters coming to you with filet mignon and lobster and all of this. Maybe that's why it's not an intimidating place.
Well, first of all, getting filet mignon and lobster during a football game sounds awesome. So I don't know why we're pushing back on the idea of finer things.
It's too nice. It's too nice. It's why they're soft down there.
Yes.
But also, the Cowboys Stadium is one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL right now. I go there every year. It's the truth. But it's also true for this.
It's one of the loudest stadiums. They got one of the worst fan bases down there. How many people are down there? I don't get it.
But that's the point I'm making, is that
it's great for the owners because they can make more money by hosting more events there. I get it. That's the business angle of it. The football angle of it, stop it. Stop it. Because you're trying to sell me something. You're trying to sell me something that really – you think the players are pushing for domes?
Yes, I do.
I haven't heard this.
Well, I'm sure
most football players like playing outside.
All right, I'll start to ask players at training.
You should.
Yeah,
I will. I'll start to ask them. I'd be curious to see what they have to say.
Yeah, insider.
The last thing I'll say about the Cowboys Stadium.
Okay.
Just real quick, the last thing I'd say about the Cowboys Stadium is you're right? The Cowboys don't have the best fans in the world. But the reality is it's still a really hard place to play because it's a dome. So if you put great fans in a dome, it would instantly become the hardest.
Green Bay, that cold team from Green Bay went down there and smacked them in the first round. It was so hard to win down there with Jordan Love. How about San Francisco that went down there and smacked? No, we're talking about how hard it is to play down there.
It is hard to play down there. I've seen the Eagles go down there every year and struggle.
Maybe that's just the Eagles.
Maybe, I don't know. I just know when they go down to Dallas, they lose most of the time.
Eliot, can I ask you two questions about training camp?
Yeah, and then one about the Phillies.
No.
Because I heard Jack say something I disagree with. But
all right. I'll give you your opportunity. The first thing is Jaylen Carter, I believe, has not practiced the first 2 days. Do we know what is wrong with Jaylen Carter and what his prognosis is?
So it's a shoulder injury. The sense I get being down there is they are not worried about it. What I'll say, having covered a lot of training camp injuries, is normally I think I'm pretty good at sensing out when they're actually worried and they're just saying they're not. I don't get the sense they're actually worried about Jaylen Carter. Now, they practice tomorrow. We'll see if he's out there. I think ultimately he will be out there in week 1. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't, and that's kind of all that matters, but I don't get the sense it's something they're very worried about.
And then before your Phillies point, because I haven't heard his name the first 2 days, is Kevin Patullo. Now, I know you're watching everything. Have you seen anything of note from Patullo on the sidelines, just his way, his those sorts of things? What have you seen from Patullo?
So one thing that did stick out to me about Patullo is at yesterday's practice, at the beginning of every practice, the quarterbacks do a pretty mundane drill where they just they fake hand it off to the running back, then they throw the ball 5 yards. It's basically like a warm-up thing. And I noticed that after every time Jaylen did it, him and Kevin Patullo were talking, they were pointing, they were looking. Like, it just seems like they talk a lot during practice. And so since all off season, when the benefit of Patullo was their relationship, I do think I have seen that you can, at least in person through 2 practices, you can tell that they have a working relationship, right, and that they've been around each other for a while. So, I don't think we can really tell a ton about Patullo, to be honest, but that would be the observation I would have.
Look like a little continuity, huh?
Yeah,
chemistry
we'll see
there.
if it works, but
I'm just saying that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Agreed. Sometimes it's not the best thing. But,
and then one other thing before your Phillies point, actually, is has J.J. Watt responded to your response about the training camp stats?
I haven't seen it, so
Okay.
I'd like to think that means I convinced him he was wrong, but my guess is he probably just hasn't seen it. Yeah.
All right, so for the Phillies, what we've been talking about today is a message to John Middleton and the Phillies that we want everybody to go all in. We want them to go all in. We believe in this trade deadline. What you said, you had heard Jack say something that raised your antenna. What was it?
Yeah, so first of all, Jack, one of the bigger baseball voices at the station. Like, I respect his opinion, but
one of?
Yeah, one of, yeah.
Interesting.
I heard you say that Middleton would be robbing the players of a final chance. Let's be clear about something. The players themselves have blown their chance at multiple times. They lost to the Diamondbacks. They lost to the Mets, right? And they're the ones that are still pretty inconsistent this year. So while I get your point that he could reinforce a final stretch for this team, let's not act like Middleton hasn't done a ton over the past years to give these exact players you want to be remembered, like Victorino and all them. Like, they've had their shot, and they blew it. If I called in and said the Sixers should give Embiid one more chance, nobody would be like, yeah, do that. Because why? Embiid has blown his chance. So, sure, if they want to go and make a trade, do it. But the worst decisions are made out of desperation, and it's pretty clear it would be a desperate move right now and not a smart one.
Yeah, it's fine.
Can I ask you, why is it desperate for the Phillies to do it, but it wouldn't be desperate for, like, the Mets or the Yankees or the Tigers or any of the other teams that have approximately the same wins as the Phillies?
So I'm not as familiar with their situations, but what I would say is the reason it's desperate for the Phillies is because they're an old team, and they're going to have to decide whether or not to double down on this group. So if they're going to trade a prospect that could legitimately help them for the next window, I don't think it's smart to do it when you don't know how Bryce is going to age, if you're going to re-sign Schwarber. I know Turner's been good this year, but 2 months ago he was one of the worst contracts. So that's the reason I view it as desperate, is because you're trying to help an older window as opposed to just trying to help a good team that you're going to have for a little bit.
Well, it is desperate because it's time to be desperate.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
No, but that's not when you make good decisions.
Well, were the Eagles desperate last year when they signed Saquon Barkley?
No.
Huh?
What do you mean?
They weren't desperate. The Eagles had one of the youngest rosters in the league last year when they signed Saquon. They went out and they signed him because it was a good thing for the team, but that was not, here's our
Well, what if the
chance
Phillies
to
make a
do
trade
it.
that's a good thing for the team?
Was it desperate when the Eagles went and got traded for Terrell Owens?
Or AJ
Yeah, I would
Brown?
say that was desperate. Yeah,
Did
I
it
would
work-
say
did it
I would
work
say
out?
the T.O. thing. Well, it did work out. I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying the move can't work out. But what I'm saying is, what are the chances they actually add somebody at the deadline that where you give up, I don't know how willing you are to trade Painter, but if you give up one of your top prospects, that it actually works out. Like, the chances are it won't, and you will have set the team back when they're already facing a window that's closing.
I guess my point would be the chances are always
Yeah, you don't know that
the
unless
chances
you
are
actually give it a
yeah
chance.
the chances are always more than it's not going to work out than it is.
Yeah.
Like that's not a reason.
That's
I hear what
life
you're
in
saying.
general.
Yeah, but that's not a reason not to do it. All right. Eliot Shorr-Parks, you can get the Go Birds podcast every single day. During training camp, it's elite after every practice. So is there going to be one tomorrow?
Absolutely. Tomorrow
There you
they
go.
practice at 10 a.m. We'll have a post-practice. Well, I'll have a post-practice pod right away.
All
Can I
right.
ask you one question, E?
Oh, there you go.
Here we
Of
go.
course.
Well, I'm just saying, if you had your choice, which way would you have the stadium built?
I would have a dome placed on the stadium.
So you would deliberately, defy what the fans want, and you wouldn't even compromise and do a retractable
You
roof.
spit in the face of your fan base.
You could talk me into a retractable roof. I'm just so positive fans will love it that I'm okay taking the hit initially because
Well,
once
isn't that
they're
the
in
best
there,
of both
they'll-
worlds, though?
Yeah, I'm saying if people really want to be cold during a game, I'll do a retractable roof. But I ultimately think people would love a new dome. Like, it would be an amazing experience people would enjoy.